Welcome to Heritage Acres Homestead. I'm Chass. Here you'll find our family as we strive to live a life that pleases the Lord. We do our best to make the most out of what we've been given, so we'd like to invite you to come along and join us on our journey. Good morning, y'all. Today I'm going to share with y'all how to make chocolate chip cookies. Now, you may have a recipe in your family recipe box that you love, and that's wonderful. Some people have, like me, maybe like 10 recipes in my recipe box. But I have, over the years, pulled and taken from and developed what I think is the best chocolate chip cookie. And what's a little different about it is the technique rather than the recipe. So I'm going to share with y'all how I make mine and what I do that's a little different, and maybe you will want to try this with your own recipe. And if you don't have one, you can try ours. So let's get to it. So I have my sugars in my mixer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix those two together just quickly. And what I have is brown sugar and white sugar. And for the recipe, it calls for a half cup of white sugar and 3/4 a cup of packed brown sugar. Now this is going to look like a whole lot more than a half of cup of one and 3/4 of the other. It's because I'm doing a quadruple batch. So now I'm going to pour in this melted butter. And now for just a basic recipe, it calls for 1/2 cup melted butter. Again, I'm doing a quadruple batch. We're going to put the lid on. We're going to turn this on. And this is where one of the odd things that I do is we're going to let this beat for probably about 8 minutes. We really want that butter and sugar mixed up super well. All right, now you see that? It's like whipped the butter just about. And that sugar is just completely immersed into that butter. Now we're going to add 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. Now once you add your eggs, you do not want to beat that for too long, because the eggs are going to change and they can get tough. So beat it for a good 30 seconds or so till it's all incorporated, and then turn it off. You want the main part of beating up your batter to be in the creaming stage, where the sugar and the butter are being creamed together. Now we're going to add my favorite. And now this recipe, because it's mine, I like lots of vanilla. So it's 2 teaspoons of vanilla in our cookie mixture. Remembering I have a quadruple batch, and I'm going to do a quick pulse to get this going throughout. Now it's time for our dry ingredients. And I'm going to be using 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And what I do when I'm scooping out my flour, now you can measure it to be super duper precise, and that's probably not a bad idea. But I will scoop in to my jar and then shake it until it's nice and level. And that gives me a pretty precise measurement. And I also, like if it calls for a cup, I use my half cup. And I do that. That way you're getting a very, what I think is a more clear measurement, because it's not getting packed down. So it's 1.5 cups per batch. and it's also a half teaspoon of baking soda. Let me also add, if you use unsalted butter, you want to salt the recipe, so add you a teaspoon of salt. If you use salted butter like I did, I don't add salt to it. I will add possibly a finishing salt after it's done, but to the recipe itself, I don't add. Now that I have all my flour in, remember I'm doing quadruple batch, so it's going to be a lot more than probably your single or double batch you're going to do. I'm going to mix this. Now, a lot of times I think what happens is people cream the butter and sugar briefly, and then they just beat the tar out of the whole recipe together. But see, that's what is the problem. You want to really mix the butter and sugar, and then just bring together the rest of the mixture, because you don't want to beat this too long, or that flour starts to develop a gluten, and that gluten will make it more bread than it's going to make it cookie. So pulling this together just quickly until it's completely incorporated is all you need. You don't need to beat and beat and beat. All right. Now it's time to add our chocolate, and it depends on what you like. You can go dark, you can go milk, you can go semi-sweet. I think I'm going to do a mixture of semi-sweet and milk, and you want 8 total ounces per batch. So I'm going to be doing 4, so that's going to be quite a bit. I will add that to the mixer. We'll briefly bring that together, and then we'll move on to our next step. Adding all the chocolate in. That's 2 pounds of chocolate, y'all. Mercy. Quickly bring that together. Now we're going to take this over and put this into a container to put in the fridge and let this chill. That's the other tip. To get cookies that have a bit of rise, you want to be able to chill your dough before you put it into a hot oven. So we're going to chill this dough down for at least an hour. I know oftentimes when you don't grow up cooking in a from scratch kitchen that you think, oh, well, I won't be able to have, those quick and easy things. So here's the thing. It did take me a little prep work, a lot more than normal, because I wouldn't normally be recording while I'm doing this. But it just took me a few minutes to pull this together. And now, since I've done a large batch, this will go into the fridge, and I am cooking off a bunch of them right now, but I'm gonna have a little bit of dough later, and then when it comes time and that sweet craving happens, you don't have to worry about buying some, those pre-made cookies from the store. You just go in there, scoop you out a scoop, pop it into your preheated oven, and you're good to go. Fresh homemade cookies anytime you're ready. You can even freeze these. You can lay them on a tray, scoop them out in individual amounts, and flash freeze them. Then once you're done flash freezing, put them into a storage bag for your freezer, and keep them in the freezer that way. That way, if you're not going to use them within, within several days, like you would if you put them in the fridge, they'll be ready anytime from your freezer. So it is not, I didn't get a big enough bowl. You don't have to get rid of all those convenience things. You just make those convenience things yourself. I mean, this cookie dough smells, yeah, it smells fantastic. Hey y'all, so our dough has chilled for an hour at least. I want to show you what I'm going to do. I need to find the dimensions on this scoop. I don't rightly remember what size it is. I'm going to say maybe like 3 or 4 tablespoons, or maybe 3 tablespoons. And I'm going to take and I'm going to scoop my dough, and I'm going to use the palm of my hand because we want it even. And I'm going to take that, and then we're going to place it on our cookie sheet. Now I'm using a baking sheet with a silk pad, just because that way I don't have to get out parchment paper. I don't have to spray the pan. And this, the reason I used the palm of my hand is that way we're getting an even amount on every cookie. And we want to spread these cookies apart because they're large. Now you can absolutely go smaller on them if you like. These are those kind of cookies where it's like you get one and you're like, whoo, that was good. Whereas you get those tiny ones, you might think, man, I'd like 2 or 3 more of those. So just fill up your scoop, press it off on the bottom, and then pop it onto your tray. Just so happened that Shannon just got home from work, and I've let these come out of the oven. I sprinkled them with a bit of flaky salt.
It smells real good.
And let him give it a taste.
Yep. That's a winner. That's a real winner. That's good. Man, it's good.
Let's see the texture.
That's real good.
Break it in half and let's look at it. Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic.
Now I will say, he's an easy guy to please, but he's also extremely truthful, so he doesn't say anything that he doesn't wholeheartedly believe.
I like the little hint of salt on it.
I thought that would be a nice addition too.
That's good.
All right, choose your cookie. Which one you want? Doesn't matter. All right, now they've cooled off, but I need to know your opinion.
Pretty good.
Do you like a soft cookie or a crunchy cookie?
Soft is better.
So what about that with the somewhat crunchy exterior and the soft inside?
It's good. They're very big. They have a lot of salt on them.
I did add flaky salt.
So it's just chocolate chips?
It's a chocolate chip cookie recipe. Now, in your preference, do you prefer a soft cookie or a crunchy cookie when it's chocolate chip?
Well, generally, I prefer them to be warm
Right.
and soft.
I know. And these were warm, but
If they're not freshly baked, then I prefer them to have a little bit of a crunch to it. Because then I could have it with the milk, and it softens it out.
okay. So with these, there is the crunch to the exterior, but the interior is soft. So how do you feel about that?
I think it's very good. I think the salt was a nice accent to the flavor.
Yeah.
Very chocolatey, very not too sweet, just sweet enough.
All right, Carly, before you get started, do you prefer a soft or a crunchy cookie? A chocolate chip.
I usually prefer soft.
All right. So let's have a taste. Yeah, you don't have to tell me it's good just because, you know, I'm your mom. We're looking for objective answers here. This cookie is not completely soft, as you're probably aware of now. There's a crunchy exterior and then a soft middle.
That's really good.
How do you feel about the addition of the salt?
I think it's smart.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I really liked how crunchy it is. And, of course, the chocolate chips. I also really like the addition of a significant amount of butter.
Yes, there is a good amount of butter in there. There's actually butter I made up the other day. So,
That's really good.
all right, thank you.